In this interview, Dave Fox and I talk about dealing with money, payments, and whether it's paying a freelancer or whether it's accepting payments from Amazon. Maybe you're located in Canada like Dave is, and you're getting checks from the US Associates program, or maybe you live in the US and you have to deal with payments coming from Canada, or you have to deal with payments coming from the UK or whatever. So we look at full spectrum of like money matters. So if you're new to the channel, I'm Doug Cunnington. I talk about Amazon affiliate marketing, and Dave is someone who's been on the channel a bunch, and I'll put some links to some of the other videos. Additionally, you should check out Dave's channel. It's Faux Records, and I'll put a link to that. Georgie is going bananas over here. Georgie, what's going on? Georgie, hey. So I'll put a link to Dave's YouTube channel, which is a music channel. He is a musician by trade. If you have any questions about money or payments or anything like that, leave a comment below and I'll do my best to answer. Or if you have any great insights on, working with money, paying freelancers or anything like that, leave them in the comments too. Would love to hear. I'm always, happy to learn something new. Let's get to our chat here. Hey, what's up? Doug Cunnington here from Niche Site Project. I'm sitting with Dave. How's it going today?
Oh, good. Thanks.
All right, today in this video, we're going to talk about payments and money and working in our, the reality of our international sort of teams and working with freelancers and all that stuff. So do you work with many freelancers, Dave?
Oh, yeah. Definitely lots of freelancers.
Okay, me too. And my primary route is to work through Upwork. So that's like the big marketplace where there's tons of freelancers. There's a lot of contractors in general. There's a lot of clients. And for me, I'm usually hiring like writers and other like content folks. And for me, that's like the easiest and fastest way, even though there are some downsides for Upwork. So
yeah.
Is that where you usually go, Dave?
Yeah, I hang out on Upwork quite a bit, so mostly Upwork, to be honest, yeah.
Okay. And do you have, is it mostly writers you're working with, or what kind of freelancers?
Yeah, pretty much writers, but there's been other people that I've worked with on there too, so like a wide variety of different freelancers.
Cool. And pros and cons for working on Upwork. So I'll start us off and just say the pros are it's such a huge marketplace. It used to be Odesk, and Elance got wrapped up in there too. So there are a lot of people, a lot of freelancers that you can hire, right? You can get their eyes on your job listing, and it's way more diverse. There's tons of international folks that you could hire. So from that perspective, I love it. Now, do you want to hit any pros as well, or?
Yeah, I've done stuff on there where I've hired legal experts and all sorts of weird people that do reverse penetration testing and just stuff that is not even remotely close to writing. So I'll be like, gee, I wonder if you can hire a lawyer. I'm like, yep, you sure can. Everybody's on Upwork,
Very cool. And I know I'm a project manager. I know there are project management gigs on there and contractors. If you need someone to manage your project, they could do that. I have another friend who hired accountants and bookkeepers. Tons, whatever you need, you could probably find it on Upwork, even if it seems obscure. So that's the good part. Now, the bad part is, and they adjusted this probably in the last 2 years or so, the fees have gone up, both for, I think both the client and the freelancer. So it's definitely more expensive, and I can't remember the fees off the top of my head, but it's on the order of 10 to 15%, and It is more expensive. So did that move you off the platform for any specific gigs?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing is, Upwork, they're paying attention to your chats for any sort of keyword that's related to let's get off Upwork. So I mean, I've been temporarily banned from Upwork for doing exactly that. So it's you say the wrong thing on there, they're monitoring chats. They don't want to lose business, right? So
right. And I mean, they are making money off the transactions individually. Yes. So that is the specific thing that they don't want, right? If you move off Upwork, then they've lost their money. Now, the reason you may be thinking, right? Why would you even work on Upwork if you could just make the contact and get off of Upwork? The reason why is, like you said, they're monitoring the chat. And actually, I've had to end a couple contracts where, let's say, the content was really bad. That's super rare. If the content's bad, I'll ask for some revisions. But sometimes the revisions come back, maybe work is turned in late. That's the number one thing. A lot of times someone will hop onto Upwork, they think they want to try it out, and then they decide it's not for them, and then they disappear and they never turn in any work. You get no response. And if you have all the communications tracked through the Upwork messaging system, then you could just say, hey, Upwork, I want my money back. Here's the conversation. You could see I asked, I gave them time, and they just never replied, and then you'll get a prompt refund. So that's why you get protection for like actually having work done. So
that's true. Yeah, and also like I find a lot of the people on Upwork they're from it's like a worldwide market, so you meet people from everywhere. And the thing is, like on Upwork, it's a standard payment method, so there's like, it doesn't matter where they're from, it goes through Upwork, right? So that's when you go outside of Upwork, there's people like, say I hire a guy from like Africa, it might actually just be easier to pay the fee than it would be to pay this guy through some other means, which I found.
Okay. Gotcha. And you know what? I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that is another like big pro. You don't have to worry about like having a PayPal account or like setting things up. Otherwise, like very straightforward. So cool. Any other pros or cons with Upwork?
Yeah, like I find it's like actually con would be it's usually bugging out a bit. So like it's often just like down for no reason, which is frustrating. So I'll go on there to check something, and it's like they kind of give you this sort of like little funny message like, we'll be back later, and you're like, thanks, like tomorrow, like when are you gonna be back? Like, so it's always down. And I think what I heard, I don't want to get into rumors of why, but since it's switched over, I think they might have run into some issues with because the new platform or something, but I don't know, it's often down.
Right. And whenever they moved to Upwork and like merged a lot of stuff, I saw the same thing, and it was like all the time. It was really bad for a while, and for quite some time, I haven't had issues. But actually this past weekend, I was trying to hop on, send a message to a contractor, and it was just down. And it just, like you said, it's like sort of a arbitrary maintenance message. So not helpful. And there's no like, hey, check back in a few hours. It's just down, gone, can't load.
Yeah, so, and you don't know when it's coming back. So
okay. Cool. Now moving from Upwork, and I have worked off of Upwork directly with people sometimes who I met otherwise, right? So for me, typically I'm using either PayPal like 90% of the time, and I also use TransferWise, which you can basically wire money to people to their bank accounts, although it may not be technically wiring, but it's cheaper than like PayPal. PayPal is like 2.9%. So if you're like making a lot of payments, it does add up. So
yeah, it's true.
Yeah, you use PayPal much or?
Yeah, actually I do. And the thing about PayPal, actually, there's pros and cons again. I don't want to say it's all bad, but PayPal there's certain things about PayPal that kind of make it hard to like do business, because you're like, they have a thing where like there's a time frame of when they take the money out of your account. So like it's not immediate. So if you're processing a payment, it processes, I think, on PayPal's time, like whenever PayPal processes it. And I think because PayPal is so popular and so busy that time fluctuates. And so I'll be like, well, I hope this comes out tomorrow or the next day. Then it'll come out 2 days after that. And I'll be like, well, that didn't help me, because like I'm trying to balance my books every week or whatever. So that's the thing.
So I guess if you don't have enough money in your account, is that what you're talking about? Like you're moving too much money around too fast or something?
Basically, like I have a few accounts, and so I'm not always using the account that PayPal wants to use. Like this could all probably be my fault, but like the account I prefer to use is the account that PayPal kind of withdraws from. And it's just like, it doesn't even matter if it's like there's money in it or not. It's like, I just don't like when like the time seems to fluctuate for when the money comes out. I like to know when it's coming out, and it gets like out of hand really quickly. I find if you're doing more than one payment.
Okay.
So yeah.
And actually, I will tell you, I think that is a cash flow thing on your side. So you must be running it pretty lean so I don't know. I don't have that specific issue, but PayPal can be expensive sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the thing is, I keep my money in one account, and it's not the account that PayPal uses. But there's a reason for that, but I'm not going to explain it.
Okay. Got it. Otherwise, I think PayPal's great because it is so like common. My parents have like PayPal accounts, like you can get payments, and it's very easy to like send those transfers. Now there's a bunch of other like ways to send money, but PayPal seems, I mean, it was there for a long time, or it has been there for a long time.
Yeah,
So,
like, I mean, it's very, everybody accepts PayPal. So that's, I think, the main plus of PayPal. But I don't know, I have other complaints about it too, where like there's the way they label their with transactions. Like I've seen stuff where my transactions are not labeled, and I can't, and because of the fees, like I can't even keep track of them. Because it's like I'm not going to speculate into like, conspiracy level stuff, but I've seen stuff in my bank account where I'm like, what is happening with this PayPal account? There's like stuff coming out that I don't even know what the hell it is. And then I'll call them. I'll be like, can you tell me what this one is? And they're like, no. I'm like, thanks, that's helpful.
Is it with like international payments or something like that?
Like I make a lot of payments. So this, again, it sort of like points to my disorganization, but I have a lot of payments that go through PayPal, including pre-authorized payments that are hiding in some like folder in PayPal where I'm like, oh, I didn't know I was paying these 10 people still. Like I thought I was done with these guys, and like, nope, they're still hiding in some part of PayPal where it's like, and I'll deactivate them, and it's like, you're not deactivated, they're still there. Like it's just stuff like that where I'm just like, why can't I sort this out? I've never fully sorted out PayPal. It's just like there's always some issue.
Got it. And I think, you know what, I know what you're talking about. It's like reoccurring payments or subscription type payments. And those are, I mean, like PayPal has a lot of different systems all put together, like looking at it externally. I assume that's the case, where they've added functionality and maybe things lived in a silo, maybe like recurring payments. So like when they redo the interface, right, it used to look a lot more like old school, right? Like from the late 90s. And now it looks like a slick new interface, and maybe everything doesn't integrate like beautifully like it should.
Another thing I want to say about PayPal is like, and this does kind of get into more like sketchy territory, but like the thing is, I've talked to people that have told me about certain uses for PayPal where I'm like, you know what? It's like because like back in say the 80s, you'd hear about like people doing like laundering and like holding money in offshore bank accounts and things like that. And because PayPal is not a bank, right? It's like a money hold, like it's just like transferring money around and stuff. So they hold it, they transfer it. But the stuff that I've heard people like, this isn't PayPal's fault, but it's like the people that use PayPal for certain things, they basically like are using it in really weird ways, which I think just like makes PayPal even more bogged down with craziness. Because it's just like, I'm like, whoa, you're using PayPal for that? Like, what the hell is that? Like, and so I think it's just causing some havoc with PayPal a little bit.
Interesting.
Because in order to process my legitimate payment, they have to process this pirate's payment that came from here that does this, and I'm like, oh shit, really? You're doing that? Like, that's crazy. So like, I just talked to a lot of pirates.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know who you're hanging out with, man, but
anyway, you might want to edit this out, but it's true.
I don't know what you're talking about, but if you heard something, then I
heard
know.
some stuff.
So it's unsubstantiated. Like, we are not the press or anything like that, so we don't know.
Pin it on me. It's probably just I'm crazy, but whatever. Yeah.
So moving on to a slightly different topic, which is the Amazon Associate Program, like the international programs. And Dave, you're in Canada, you're Canadian, so you're working with the US primarily. That's the majority of your revenue, but you have other associate accounts, international accounts. Now, tell us about like getting payments in Canada. Anything different? Like, what do people have to look out for?
So this is okay. So basically, you get an envelope with a check in it, which is like fine, I guess. But the thing is, it's not fine because I've had the check like land in the snow. It's been torn. The bank rarely accepts it without some kind of like talk with the manager. Like they finally
your dog ate the check.
Yeah, like that check. Like no, seriously, at the bank, I'll walk in and like be like, "Here's my check," and they're like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "It's an Amazon check. It's legit." And they're like, "We gotta buzz the manager here." And I'm like, no, I've done this like 25 times. And so, they still don't quite believe what that check is. And it kind of just looks like a fraud check because it's just like Amazon. And the more money is on that check, the worse it looks.
All right.
So,
And they're like, why is Amazon sending you a check? Right.
It's true. And now that I've been frauded more, I've compared this check with other fraud checks that I've gotten through like Kijiji and things like that, where people try to fraud me. And I'm like, this does look like a fraud check.
Interesting. Okay. So that is one problem. So does your bank, like, do they charge you extra to cash a US dollar check? or anything like that?
Not really, no. It's like once it's in there, it's fine. It's just the fact that because the cycle is like 60 days after the month that you make the money, you get paid the check. So there's the 60 days. Then there's the snail mail crawl where it takes like however long the mailman takes to get it to you. So it has to go through customs. I've actually had issues where I've talked to not customs, but like the postal service, and I've been like, can you explain like what happens when it gets to customs? And they're like, oh man, these people like they put it through quite the procedure because like people send like weird stuff in envelopes, and so if they get outside the country checks now, like there's dogs, guys with like X-ray things, like it's like takes forever to get the check. I'm sure it doesn't take too long, but there's definitely a process that's like it just doesn't pass through in like 2 seconds. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that takes more time.
And I'm sure some people are like yelling at the screen, like, why don't you do direct deposit, right?
Yeah.
So you can't do direct deposit, right?
Well, that's it. That's the thing. So like at some point in the past, I called Amazon. I'm just like, can I do direct deposit? And they're like, no. I'm like, really? Why? And they're like, you just can't. You can't do it. Like no one outside of the US can do it. And I'm like, well, that sucks. Like, because then I'll complain about the whole snail mail thing. And then they're like, there's just nothing in place to do that. And I'm like, okay, so I give up. And then something will happen. My check will get chewed by like a dog. And then I'll call them again. I'm like, really, I'm fed up with this like check situation. They're like, sorry, buddy. I'm like, so it just ongoing. And then what happened was like, years later, I'm talking to like the 15th guy. And I'm like, this check thing has got to stop. He's like, you don't even need to. You don't need a check. You just get direct deposit, says the guy at Amazon. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? And he's like, no, I know people that do direct deposit. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
But not in Canada though, right?
Yeah, like in Canada.
Huh.
He's like, you just have to put it in an account that is like has a U.S. address on it. And I'm like, no, I thought I had to get like a U.S. bank account that's like legit and like screened and like which I did. Actually went to the trouble. I got an actual U.S. account. No, he's like, you just need any old U.S. account. It could be anything. It can be like Payoneer. I'm like get out of town. He's like, yeah, no, I know people that do it. I'm like, well, thank you very much. And then, so that's what I'm in the process of doing now, I guess.
Okay, the Payoneer. And I haven't used Payoneer, but I have heard for international folks, that's a good way to get payments. So you're in the process of it.
Well, I use Payoneer for other things. So I'm just like kind of on the fence a bit about it, but I probably will do it at some point.
Okay, gotcha. All right, and then I have some stories to share similar to what you're talking about. So I spent a lot of time just not worrying about like other English-speaking traffic that potentially I could monetize on my various sites, right? So I have potentially Canada, the UK, and it makes up, say 3% of the traffic overall. So not a huge amount, but it's some level you can't ignore it, right?
Yeah.
So I have installed OneLink, and that's Amazon's tool. It's free to geo-target your traffic, and it seems to work pretty well. I heard maybe there were some bugs at the beginning, rumors and stuff, but it seems fine to me right now. Now, the thing is, for me in the US, if I get a check from the UK, I have to figure out how to cash that, and at least where I'm located in Bozeman, Montana, it was a little difficult for me to like figure out how to do that. My normal bank is online, right? It's like Capital One, and I have an online account. So they wouldn't let me cash a Canadian or UK check, right? So I couldn't use my regular bank. I tried to open, it's funny, like it's a different style of like issues, but it's basically the same sort of thing. So
Yeah.
I went to a local bank here. I probably should have shopped around a little bit more, but I went to a local bank here that was recommended by a friend. They were like, we can cash the Canadian check, but it'll cost $40 a check or something like that. And, right, so it'll cost $40 a check for the Canadian, and they won't even cash the UK check. So they were like, you're out of luck. You got to find another bank. Now, I'm sure if I went to a more international city than Bozeman, like, it would be okay. If I went to, Denver, there's like a Federal Reserve Bank there. I'm assuming there's like a place where I can go with a check and they'll cash it. I'm sure it'll be a little expensive. So the way I've like changed up how I'm going to deal with it is you can set the threshold when they send you a check. So instead of like 50 pounds or like 50, Canadian dollars, I made it 1,000, and I may even up it more because I'm like, I don't want to deal with this, but maybe if I'm in Seattle or if I'm heading down to Denver or something, I could cash those checks and be good to go to a branch, and that sort of thing. So the point is, it's not a slam dunk to just like get the checks. Like sometimes you got to it's going to take a little work. And most of the time, if it takes a little work, it's going to take you longer than you think it's going to take.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like when you start off, like your checks are going to be lower. So if you get charged $40 for a check, it's a little demoralizing unless, you know what I mean? Like if you get a $100 check and it's $40 to cash it, it's
Right.
like, I'm not thrilled about that, you know?
Right. In fact, I was almost like, this is insane. Yeah, this is not going to work. So at that point, once I figured out like the logistics of the reality, I turned it off because I like changed what I was doing. But at this point, like I said, if I have $1,000 or $1,500 or whatever, then I could figure out, I mean, I could pay $40 to do that one time, but it's a economy of scale situation.
Right. So. Yeah. Well, I don't use one link. Is it one link, one click, whatever? Yeah. I don't use that. So I don't deal with that problem at all because I just don't trust Amazon's geo-targeting links. Yeah, so I just don't use it.
Got it. All right, anything else to add about payments or anything like that?
With regards to Amazon, I guess like generally speaking, it's fine. You know, you get your check every month, and it's like for me, I'm kind of used to it, and I can cash it, so it's not such a big deal. It's like it's a bit of a wait to get it, but you know, it's not bad.
Good to go after that. Right on. All right, cool. Well, thanks for the talk, Dave. Everybody, check out Dave's YouTube channel. We'll place a link in the description. What's it called?
Bowtown Records.
All right. Well, what's the music like there?
That's pretty eclectic. There's a ton of stuff on there, and it's all really different. So there's a lot of, I can't even describe it, but I'd say it's like independent is one word for it. It's like an alternative. So there's a lot of experimental stuff. There's a lot of good pop songs on there if you dig around. So yeah, cool. It's an interesting channel.
Right on. And is it just your music, or is it like, this is a label, right? So you have your friends and other musicians that you're helping out and stuff?
Yeah, they're all kind of on there, and they have their own playlists and whatnot. So, you know, if you're on there, just like leave a comment. I'd be thrilled to hear that someone came through here and got on there. That'd be awesome.
Cool. Right on. Well, thanks, Dave. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good. See ya.
All right, thanks a lot for checking out the discussion with Dave and I. Do check out his channel, Faux Records. If you have any questions about money or payments or anything like that, leave a comment below and I'll do my best to answer. Or if you have any great insights on, working with money, paying freelancers or anything like that, leave them in the comments too. Would love to hear. I'm always, happy to learn something new. Thanks.